Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating and honestly deeply complex dual nature of women in Jewish tradition. We're going to draw on some incredible analysis that moves us all the way from ancient texts right into the depths of modern psychological profiling. You see, Judaism isn't just a set of beliefs. It's an entire way of living. It's about the home, the law, generational memory, rituals, and the deep sacredness of everyday acts. And sitting at the absolute center of this world is the woman. But her position is beautifully complicated. So today we're going to explore how she is revered as the essential keeper of the covenant while simultaneously navigating historic limitations in official public religious spaces. Okay, here is our roadmap for today. We'll be looking at 1. The dual image, 2. Heroines of the covenant, 3. Sanctuary of the home, 4. Jungian shadows, and 5. Modern evolution and integration. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the dual image. We're starting with a massive contradiction that literally sits at the very heart of this ancient living tradition.
Now, think about this duality, because it perfectly captures our whole thesis today. On the one hand, the woman is the ultimate guardian of Jewish identity. I mean, she's the mother, the protector of the religious home, and the one directly passing down what it means to be Jewish to the next generation. But, and here's the catch, within parts of the traditional ritual systems, her voice has historically been limited in public roles. So we're looking at immense foundational power paired right alongside systemic limitation. Before we really get into the history, you've got to understand this absolutely crucial concept, matrilineal descent. Think about ancient societies for a second. Most of them tracked lineage strictly through the father, right? But in traditional rabbinic Judaism, it is actually the mother. If the mother is Jewish, the child is Jewish. This elevates the woman to a profoundly symbolic and literal status. She might not have historically held the official title of rabbi, but she is the living, breathing boundary of membership. She's the anchor ensuring the survival of the entire people. Section 2, Heroines of the Covenant. Let's look at how this foundational power plays out dynamically in the Hebrew Bible. As you'll see, these women absolutely were not just hanging out in the margins. They were active powerhouses whose choices directly shaped the fate of the Israelites. Take the foundational mothers, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. The identity of the nation isn't just built by the patriarchs. These women actively step in to shape the covenant's destiny. Or look at Deborah, acting as both a prophet and a judge, taking on literal spiritual and political leadership during a huge crisis. Or Esther, who steps out of silence with incredible courage to save her entire people from destruction. The sacred memory of Judaism makes one thing crystal clear. The path to salvation very often runs directly through the women. Section 3, Sanctuary of the Home. Now, as we transition from the biblical narrative over into the rabbinic tradition, the primary sphere of female influence shifts pretty dramatically. So the really crucial point here is this juxtaposition between the public and private spheres. Halacha, which is the Jewish legal system, meticulously organizes everyday life. Historically, traditional interpretations obligated men to perform what are called positive time-bound commandments, basically rules that pulled them out into the public sphere of the synagogue for scheduled worship. But women? They were traditionally exempt from many of these time-bound laws. As a result, they became the undisputed masters of the private sphere. And you have to remember, in Judaism, the home isn't just a house. It's considered a literal miniature sanctuary. In this domestic sanctuary, the woman acts as the keeper of the threshold. When she lights the Shabbat candles, she isn't just, checking off a household chore. No way. She is physically bridging the gap between everyday, mundane reality and sacred time. She manages the dietary laws, the family purity, the whole spiritual atmosphere. She's the architect of the religious experience for her kids. It is a beautiful, vital role. But, as we're about to see, confining all of that spiritual energy strictly to the home has some profound psychological implications. Section 4, Jungian shadows of tradition. So, what actually happens psychologically when you take immense spiritual power and structurally confine it almost entirely to the domestic space? Well, let's break this down using Carl Jung's concept of the shadow. If you're not familiar, a shadow in Jungian psychology is a part of the psyche that gets repressed or hidden. It's not necessarily evil, right? It's often a really vital, living force. But because it hasn't been properly integrated, it takes on a limiting form. In the context of this explainer, when a woman's full potential isn't realized in the public sphere, 4 distinct shadows pop up in the tradition. Shadow number 1 is the Great Mother.
Now, the light of this archetype is glorious. She is the ultimate nurturer, keeping the covenant going. But the dark shadow falls when a woman is reduced only to a mother. Think about it, when her entire existence is completely swallowed up by her family role, her individual intellect, her unique desires, her personal path, it all just gets totally erased by collective expectation. Next up is the hidden priestess. This one highlights a really painful disconnect. She is the absolute spiritual anchor of the family, the one transforming the house into a sanctuary, right? Yet, historically, she's totally absent from the public theology. History remembers the male rabbis, the male philosophers, the male legal scholars. The hidden priestess is diligently keeping the sacred time at home, but her voice is completely missing from the official interpretation of the very text she lives by every day. The third shadow is the lawgiver father. This involves the legal system itself. At its best, halakha provides an amazing rhythm and protects the community. But when religion gets overly rigid, the shadow emerges. The law stops being a protective embrace and morphs into a mechanism of excessive control. The woman's body and her choices become subjects to be heavily regulated by male authorities, instead of treating her as an autonomous spiritual agent who can make her own choices. Finally, we have the hidden queen. Think back to Esther or Deborah for a second. In times of supreme crisis, when the survival of the whole community is on the line, the woman is permitted, expected even, to step out of the domestic sphere. She uses her voice, her bravery, and her wisdom to literally save the day. But the shadow is what happens after. Once the danger passes, she's quietly pushed right back to the margins, and her public leadership is treated like a temporary fluke instead of a permanent right.
Section 5, Modern Evolution and Integration. So the big question is, how is this living tradition healing these shadows today?
Let's track this modern synthesis on a timeline, because there really isn't just one single answer here. Different movements are actively wrestling with this. Reform Judaism started making huge shifts in the late 19th and 20th centuries to ensure full equality in public worship. Then, by 1985, conservative Judaism took the monumental step of actually ordaining female rabbis. Meanwhile, Orthodox Judaism generally maintains those traditional boundaries around formal rabbinic leadership, but has seen a massive, unprecedented explosion in high-level religious and textual education for women. So across the board, the tradition is actively evolving.
So, what does the path to healing actually look like? True integration means completely breaking that duality we started with. It means recognizing that a woman can be the sacred keeper of the home and a brilliant public interpreter of the text. It's about upholding the law, but letting the actual lived experiences of women help shape how it's interpreted today. It's honoring those foundational mothers without forcing every single modern woman into the exact same box. Ultimately, a truly living tradition has to have the courage to listen to the voices it once historically silenced. I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to ponder. It perfectly frames the challenge and the beauty of everything we've explored today. The home of the covenant can't be illuminated without the woman. But to truly thrive, her light absolutely must be allowed to shine beyond the threshold of the home. As this incredible tradition continues to evolve, how will it balance the deep, vital roots of its past with the brilliant, undeniable potential of its future? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today.